Back in April of 2002, Mega Man Zero dropped on the GBA and really shook the players with its drastic change in the design of the sword-wielding Chad everyone had come to know and love. One major question was, why? What is the reason for this design change? It's so drastic. Over the years, assumptions and theories were formed, and the release of Mega Man Zero 3 really put a whole new spark in the discussion with its final boss. So, what is the reasoning behind the design change? Let's cut into it and see what the dig dang happened. Back in the day, NT Creates was a gaming company that was composed of some previous Mega Man developers. The group had a longing to work on Mega Man games still, and even to this day, there are some clear traces of their Mega Man roots in their NT games. To scratch this itch they had, a proposal was made to Capcom, a new Mega Man game, focusing on Zero, in a somewhat post-apocalyptic world. The idea was for this to be a standalone game, more like a what-if kind of situation. The game was approved, and with Capcom's blessing, production started. Zero's design was obviously brought up. According to the Rockman Zero Tell Us booklet, a CD of remastered tracks from Zero 3, there was a Q&A that addressed this actual question. 3 games in, at long last, we had our answer. Why was he so different? The Zero of the Zero series that we, NT Creates, developed is, ultimately, Mr. Nakayama Zero. Maybe you can call it a different representation. We're drawing the same Zero from the X series, with a Nakayama touch to it. In some animes, the characters might even change in design for a movie or so, no? Think of it as something similar to the above. From this passage, the design change was simply to give the series its own look. They describe it as Nakayama Zero, which reminds me of how Gundam does a similar thing. There's a model line called the version KA, which stands for the designer's initials. As you can see here, some designs change drastically, while others are just slight tweaks. As an April Fool's Day gag, Capcom even mimicked this style, which was so well received, it actually became reality. So with this answer, more questions raised, more debates ignited, and as usual, the fan base was divided on the topic. From what this answer stated, it sounded like Zero himself was never actually redesigned in the world of Mega Man. It was just a thing done for artistic purpose to make the series stand out. For all intents and purposes, in lore, Zero would be the same. That's why Omega looks like you. It's intended to be the same Zero from the X series. An artistic change for distinguishing purposes was clearly the original concept of the redesign. But keep in mind, this series was not made with sequels planned. This was a one and done. Zero comes in, defeats his evil ex and their 4 kids, and nopes out to the desert. As time went on, the world expanded both in terms of the story moving forward, as well as retroactively addressing issues of the past. Bridges between the Zero and X series were built in all sorts of obscure places, from interviews, CDs, guidebooks, official websites that are no longer active. Much of the lore was scattered and created as a secondary thought, so it's no surprise that some things slipped through the cracks for many fans. If only they had made something where they could put all of this info in. An omnibus of Zero. Oh well, we're asking too much there. If you thought the sole reason for the design change was just for artistic reasons, well, you would be half right. I mentioned that the world grew, and in its growth, much was retroactively added in, such as the Elf Wars, Wild, X's soul splitting into 5, but one of them still being him. there were some questionable add-ins, but in doing this, there were reasons dropped for the design change. Back in the day, there were some major Megaman websites. Several of them have faded with time with, the rise of social media, forums being replaced by Discord servers and Facebook groups, and specific news outlets being overshadowed by big gaming reporters. While we still have some of our titans up and running, such as the Megaman Network, Protodude's Rockman Corner, and the Rockman EXE Zone, one of those big boys fell off. Planet Megaman. Why do these old sites even really matter? Because back in 2003, before the release of Zero 3, Planet Megaman actually had an interview with co-producer of the Zero series, Keiji Inafune. During their interview with him, the following exchange happened. Reploids in the Rockman Zero look quite different from the Reploids in Rockman X. Is there any specific basis for this change, such as new technology, or is it merely change of art style? Of course, yes. Mega Man Zero takes place 100 years after the X series, so of course the technology has advanced quite a bit. And we had to redesign all the robots to reflect that. So, with this statement, a new twist has been presented without room for misinterpretation. Within the Mega Man world, Zero does look different. But is there anything to back up this claim? One man saying it when it isn't displayed anywhere else can only go so far. As well, shouldn't Omega look like the X Series Zero? Thankfully, we do have some in-game examples to, back up this statement. While Zero was given a redesign, he wasn't alone. In fact, we see another character get Zero-ified, even if it is briefly. In Zero 2, at the end of the game, we get to see the original X, in both a drawn cutscene and as a sprite. Both of these look to be identical to Copy X, which duh, he is said to be a perfect copy. This is, however, showing that X himself went through a design change too. Something that is supported by another game, or games. Mega Man X8 showcases a new design for the whole slew of hunters. This was addressed in a Q&A that can be found inside the Mega Man X Complete Works book, where the reason given was that the models were made to be more efficient with the PS2. However, rather than just slimming down the boys, some other tweaks were done. Zero gets a haircut, X has new ears and a few other minor details, like some etching here or there. Even his Buster is not at all the same. Until we get a Mega Man X9, or I guess Extreme 3 if that happens to be post X8. It's up in the air if these designs will stick and are more than just, an artistic change. The point of bringing them up is that this shows the start of the new designs towards Zero, where Reploids are less bulky. There's one more game that takes place post X8, in terms of time. It's still a debate if it branches from X8, but this game also showcases the advancements of Reploid structure. Command Mission. Mega Man X Command Mission is an RPG X game that takes place during the same time as Mega Man Zero. It is just simply another branch in the timeline. Here, we see X, which is given a redesign, and more than that, his new armor draws elements from Mega Man Zero. X, Shadow, and Marino all draw elements from the Mega Man Zero style in their legs. So even in other timelines, the design changes do appear to be technological advancements, though slower in the Command Mission timeline. Professor Perry the Platypus does specifically say that X has new armor. This might sound outlandish, given how X and Zero have always been unique and unanalyzable, but at this point in time on the Zero timeline, X and Zero no longer appear to be the vast enigmas that they once were. Both have perfect copies built of them. But that leads to another question. Why does he look that way? It's a common belief that Omega should look like our old school Zero, while the main protag Zero should look as he does. This line of thinking isn't outlandish, and frankly it's completely understandable. The Zero we know is a copy, it would be more likely that he would have a different design. As time went on, new sources have emerged to shed some light on what all happened. Debates ragged on about this and that, but from an unlikely source, we have a little bit more info. Rockman X Dive, the mobile gacha game that ran for 3 years, dropped some lore on this subject for us. The first time was during their promo video for the ZX event, which featured Omega as the boss. They talked about Omega, and most interestingly enough, they mentioned Omega was modified by Wild and that he himself built Zero's copy body. Now, that video I personally take with a grain of salt. Aside from the typos that plague it, they also show off a fan-made ZX game in it, thinking it's the original to explain how the new stage was a callback. Frankly, they're wrong there too. The stage is based on Oilfield from ZX Advent, and they show an Area K looking area from the fan game. But video editing errors aside, within the game, the description for Omega backs this up. At least they have some consistency there. Now, before you start throwing rotten veggies at your computer screens, hear me out on this one. I get it. X-Dive is a funky source given its whole story premise. While many interactions are awkward, to say the least, one thing X-Dive does get right is its character profiles. Those are for you, the player, to know about the origin of the boss or playable character. So depending on when the copy body for Zero was built, that would determine how it looked. If Weil had already updated the original, then the copy would be the same, thus explaining why the two look alike. I even theorize that Weil built the copy in secret and pulled a switcheroo at some point in prep for Project El Piso, but that's just a theory, do not take that as fact. At the end of the day, what started as simply an artistic change transformed into a real in-world upgrade. I'm sure this debate will rage on until the end of time, but hopefully you learned something here. What do you think about the redesign? Any theories on it? Let me know below! Also, feel free to hit that sub button if you like MegaMan info, or just like or dislike the video. Special thanks to Sprigween for her amazing art, and Replit Rebel for double checking my claims on the topic. With so much scattered info, it can be easy to miss some conflicting stuff. Lastly to MegaQuint, who always has the Mega Man footage. Now, I'm off to go paint one of my X models I've been sitting on. Till next time, rock on!